Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavachakacharya Stotra Sutta Shri Maharaj Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Anantagori Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Gopadan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So I'm going to read from the Gaudiya history about Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj first, and then I'm going to do the Bhagavatam verse. So once again, this is Gaudiya history. It's produced by ISKCON Desire Tree, that's Chaupati. So it's all very bona fide, nice glorification of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So it says here, in 1849, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji left Grihastha life after the death of his wife. He moved to Vrindavan and took initiation from Sri Bhagavat Das Babaji, a disciple of Sri Jagannath Das Babaji. For over 30 years, Gaur Kishore Das stayed in Vrindavan performing bhajan under the trees at Giri Govardhan, Nandagram, Varshana, Radhakund, Suryakund, Raval, Gokula. Sitting in seclusion, he chanted 200,000 names of Krishna every day. That's 128 rounds. He felt painful separation from Radha Govinda and cried profusely. As he wandered through the Dwadasavana, 12 forests of Braj, he would loudly chant the holy names in a deep voice full of lamentation. He would also relish the following bhajan. I'm just going to read the English translation. O Radhe, Radhe, where are you? O goddess of ecstatic love. O Radhe, Radhe, all glories to you. O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, Radhe, please show yourself to me and thereby maintain my life. Your most despicable fallen servant calls out to you. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe. O artful enjoyer of Vrindavan. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe. O enchantress of Kanu's, Krishna's mind. O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, O crest jewel of your 8 main girlfriends. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe. O delightful daughter of Maharaj Vrishabhanu. O Radhe, Radhe. Babaji Maharaj's mood of renunciation was unparalleled. Sometimes he ate mud from the banks of the Radhakund or the Jamuna. Other times he took madhukari from the Brajbasis. Madhukari is Babaji's daily practice of begging a little food from 1 to 7 houses, just as a bee collects a drop of honey from each flower. He saw all the Brajbasis, residents of Vrindavan, as being the direct personal associates of Radha and Krishna. As a result of this vision, he would pay respects to every person, cow, animal, bird, tree, creeper, insect, and ant in the holy dham. While staying in Varshana, he made a flower garland every day for Ral and Kanu, that's Radha and Krishna. After 30 years of rendering intimate services to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, Babaji felt inspired by the divine couple to see Sri Navadvip Dham. He visited all the Leela Stan of Lord Gauranga in Gaur Mandala. In Navadvip, he used to sing one bhajan, which means, by receiving Nitai's mercy, one gets Gauranga's mercy, which makes one eligible for Krishna Prem. With Krishna Prem, one can attain the service of Srimati Radharani and the gopis. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was the embodied form of Sri Rupa Raghunath's renunciation. Completely detached, he would wash discarded cloth to cover his body. He drank from a rejected clay pot. Parched rice mixed with Ganges water, or simply some mud from the Ganges bank sustained his life. He carried 2 books written by Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika. On Ekadasi, he didn't eat or drink a drop of water. Recognizing him to be a Mahabhagavat, many tried to serve, but he never accepted. As far as the part about the two books, somebody told me a story once that somebody approached Gaura Das Babaji and says, what does one have to do to get love for Krishna? And Gaura Das Babaji said, well, do you have 25 paisa? And the man was kind of bewildered. He said, well, yeah. What does that have to do with it? He said, just go to the marketplace and get the book Prarthana and Prema Bhakti Chandrika, with those two books by Narottam Das Thakur. That's the cost of them. If you have those two books, you have love of God. That was his. So, he used to carry them around himself. So it says, regularly he associated with and heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda in Svananda Shukara Kunja in Gojunmadweep. Constantly absorbed in bhajan, Srila Babaji Maharaj had no desire to make disciples. On the request of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, however, he reconsidered. Upon seeing the true humility and deep detachment of Thakur Bhaktivinoda's son, the bhajan, Srila Gaura Das Babaji accepted one disciple, Sri Varshabhanavi Dayata Das. That's Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. To keep mundane people from approaching him for material boons, he once resided in the lavatories at the Kuliya Dharmshala, that's in Koladweep, for 6 months. When public officials came offering to build him a proper bhajan kutir, Babaji Maharaj locked himself inside and said he had already had one. He believed that associating with materialistic people was much worse than the smell of stool in the latrine. Gaura Kishore Das Babaji advised a Calcutta doctor who wanted to open a free health clinic in Navadvip Dham, if you really want to live in Navadvip Dham, then give up your desire to run a free clinic for healing sense enjoyers. If you want to render substantial service, then renounce everything except what promotes Hari Bhajan. All other kinds of duties and services simply bind one to the ghastly cycle of karmic reactions. End quote. Babaji Maharaj spoke gravely to a newly married man. A Vaishnava wife is extremely rare and difficult to find in this world. If one has the good fortune of having one, he should see it as a benediction from Krishna. The wife worships the husband and as her Lord and Master. Similarly, the husband should worship the wife because she is Krishna Dasi, a servant of Krishna. In this way, the husband can protect his devotional enthusiasm by not considering his wife to be his maidservant, but she is always the maidservant of Krishna. This is another quote. One who wants bhojana, eating palatably, will spoil his bhajan, was a favorite quote of Srila Babaji Maharaj. In other words, eating here and there simply to gratify the tongue destroys any attempts to worship Krishna. Once a devotee ate some festival prasadam in his bhajan kutir, Babaji Maharaj would not speak to him for 3 days. On the 4th day, he said, "You accepted festival prasadam given by low-class harlots and beautiful women. Because you took food without considering its origin, your bhajan is useless." The essence of Srila Gaura Das Babaji's instructions was, the divine name of Krishna offers the one and only shelter. One should never try to remember one should never try to remember Radha Damodar's transcendental pastimes by artificial methods. Constant chanting of the divine names will purify the heart. By chanting Harinam, the syllables of the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, will gradually reveal the spiritual form, qualities, pastimes of Sri Krishna. Then you will realize your eternal spiritual form, service, and the 11 particulars of your spiritual identity. In pursuance of Babaji Maharaj's statement, quote, "Drag my body through the streets of Navadvip," unquote, a group of so-called advanced devotees proposed to commit the said sacrilege. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, however, challenged them. According to Shastra, one who has had carnal association with a loose woman within the last 24 hours is contaminated, therefore not qualified to touch my Guru Maharaj. Hearing this bold statement, the black-hearted Brahmanas made a hasty retreat. I think that was after he'd already departed, right? It wasn't while he was still alive. It doesn't. This is something, right? Is it your memory? That incident happened after Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj had departed. They came forward. They wanted, because he had made that statement that when I pass, when I leave my body, just drag my body through the streets of Navadvip. And they were thinking they were going to do that, and that's when Bhaktisiddhanta intervened and said, no. Okay. On November 19th, 1915, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj joined the eternal blissful pastime of Gandharvika Giridhari. His beloved disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, established his samadhi on the banks of Sri Chaitanya's Mat, Radhakund, near Lord Chaitanya's Yogapith in Sridham Mayapur. In Brajalila, he served Srimati Radharani as Guna Manjari. His Pushpa Samadhi stands besides the Radha Kunj Bihari. That's the Gaudiya Math near Radha Kunj. And that is it. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. We hear how he was illiterate, but totally insignificant, because Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he was referred to as a walking encyclopedia, and he begged. It wasn't just that there's a story with that too. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji at first wouldn't accept him, and he went back to his father and said he said no. He said, go back and ask again. And he went back a second time, and please accept me as your disciple. Babaji Maharaj said no, and he went back to his father and told him again. He said, "You just go there and get you." So anyway, when he went the third time, he really begged, and he said, "Look, if you don't accept me, my life is worthless." I don't know if he threatened to commit suicide, or I can't remember exactly, but he really had to beg. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, "Okay," and then he showed him. But here's the person who's the walking encyclopedia. And he's begging for initiation from, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who's so-called illiterate, but insignificant, superficial. He had love of God. That's the main thing. He was a Nityasiddha devotee, and etc. Okay, so now today, Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, text 26, 3rd canto, chapter 26, text 48. Tejo-guṇa-viśeṣo tau. Tejo-guṇa-viśeṣo tau. Yastach-cakṣur ucyate. Yasya cakṣur ucyate. Ambho-guṇa-viśeṣo tau. Yasya rasanam viduḥ. Yasya rasanam viduḥ. bhūmer-guṇa-viśeṣo tau. bhūmer-guṇa-viśeṣo tau. Yasya ghrāṇa ucyate. Yasya ghrāṇa ucyate. Tejo-guṇa-viśeṣo tau. Yasya cakṣur ucyate. Ambho-guṇa-viśeṣo tau. Yasya rasanam viduḥ. bhūmer-guṇa-viśeṣo tau. Yasya ghrāṇa ucyate. Others, please.
Tejo-guṇa-viśeṣo, the distinctive characteristic of fire, form. Artha, object of perception. Yasya, whose. Tat, that. Cakṣur, the sense of sight. Ucyate is called. Ambho-guṇa-viśeṣaḥ, the distinctive characteristic of water, taste. Arthaḥ, object of perception. Yasya, whose. Tat, that. Rasanam, the sense of taste. Viduḥ, they know. Bhūmer-guṇa-viśeṣaḥ, the distinctive characteristic of earth, odor. Arthaḥ, object of perception. Yasya, whose. Sa, that. ghrāṇaḥ, the sense of smell. Ucyate is called. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The sense whose object of perception is form, the distinctive characteristic of fire, is the sense of sight. The sense whose object of perception is taste, the distinctive characteristic of water, is known as the sense of taste. Finally, the sense whose object of perception is odor, the distinctive characteristic of earth, is called the sense of smell. So I'm going to read the next one because that has no purport by myself, and then I'll just read the translation and the purport. Parasya drishate dharmo hi aparasmin samanvayat ato viśeṣo bhavanam bhūmer evo palakṣyate. Translation: since the cause exists in its effect as well, the characteristics of the former are observed in the latter. That is why the peculiarities of all the elements exist in the earth alone. Purport: sound is the cause of the sky. Sky is the cause of the air. Air is the cause of fire. Fire is the cause of water. And water is the cause of earth. In the sky there is only sound. In the air there are sound and touch. In the fire there are sound, touch, form. In the water there are sound, touch, form, and taste. And in the earth there are sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Therefore, earth is the reservoir of all qualities and the other elements. Earth is the sum total of all other elements. The earth has all 5 qualities of the elements. Water has 4 qualities. Fire has 3. Air has 2. And sky has only 1 quality, sound. Om-gana tamadandasya janamjana shalakaya cakṣur tasmai shri gurave namaha. Shri Chaitanya mano bishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayamupakaramayam dharati swaparampitam. So Lord Chaitanya said, prema pumarta mahan, that the goal of life, the ultimate goal of life, is to develop love for Krishna. It's beyond dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So one might ask, well, what does this have to do with developing love for Krishna? This is, it's not just, we've been hearing a series of verses, very, technical, and one might wonder, well, what does this have to do with developing love for Krishna? Well, let me answer that question with a question, okay? What does the foundation of a building have to do with the building? You know what I mean? It's what supports it. See, in other words,
This is foundational knowledge. Just like does anybody here know anything about construction or civil engineering? You know, well, if you did, you'd know that in order to get a building up, get it up and have it stay up, there's certain principles of construction that have to be there. You have to have a foundation, has to have pillars. Otherwise, what happens is that building, in course of time, because, you know, as the season changes, the ground in the winter gets colder, it shrinks, and when the summer, what happens is the building can, if it doesn't have a foundation, if the weight is not equally distributed along the foundation, but it's just put up in a different way, then when the earth moves, which it does, it will cause the building to lurch, is the word they use. You know, it'll kind of like lean or list, moves. And that puts stress where it's not supposed to be stressed. Eventually the whole structure can collapse. That does happen, or partially collapse, or it certainly can, you know, just, I mean, imagine you have all sorts of stuff going through that building, plumbing, wiring, all sorts of things, and if it moves a little bit to one way, it's going to be a big problem. So foundation is really important. Unless you have a solid foundation, you can't get a good building up, and you can't keep it up. So it's the same thing with Krishna consciousness. This is foundational knowledge. This is knowledge that helps us become convinced that there is an active, intelligent, albeit transcendental creator responsible for the origin and development of the cosmos. This is the kind of what we're hearing, you see? And that's, you got to have that. That's, you know, that's got to be established solidly in your mind in order to progress. To support this argument, why was it that Prabhupada gave so many cautions, so many warnings? Don't go directly to the, I think it's chapters 33 through 36 or 32 through 36 in the 10th canto, which describes the Rasa Lila. He would always, you know, numerous occasions in lectures and all, you'd hear him say that. Don't do that. Because why? Because it's like trying to put the finishing touches on a building when you don't have the foundation. Nice sentiment, but so in the same way, until you're ready for it, you know, it is true that, you know, Rasa Lila, that's the ultimate, and you know, and loving exchanges, loving, you know, reciprocations with Krishna. So somebody might say, well, why not just go there and let's hear about the highest. Let's hear about the ultimate. Rasa Lila, that's, you know, it's the penultimate expression of love for Krishna. You know, the gopis exchanging with Krishna. Well, the answer is, unless you're ready for it, you have to build up to that. You see, you're going to misunderstand it, and it's going to, you know, not only you're going to misunderstand, it's going to actually cause a big problem in your spiritual life. Just like if you put up a really great building but you don't have a foundation, you're going to have a really big problem just somewheres down the line. So you have to have that foundation, and super important. And that's why we're hearing all this. You know, we're hearing it now from Kapila, giving it to his mother Devahuti. We've actually already heard this previously from Maitreya, who was giving it to Vidura. It's you know, we're hearing it repeatedly, you know, through these first 9 cantos of the Bhagavatam, from different personalities. Why? It's just to establish the foundation. You got to have, and this is there in any activity, even in the material world. If you want to really get good at something, there's you got to get the basics. You know, I remember like if you want to learn how to play a musical instrument, say like a drum, they have what's called rudiments. You know, there's basic beats that they have you do before they, you know, you do anything fancy. You just do these basic beats over and over and over again. Piano, they teach you scales. Don't look at the keys. Learn where the notes, you know, where different notes are. Don't look at the keys, and you practice these scales day and night until it becomes like second nature. And then, you know, then once you learn that, and you can, you know, learn how to read the music, then you can move on. If you go try to go straight away to, you know, learning how to play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata or something like that, no, it doesn't work. So you got to get the basics down first in anything. So like that in Krishna consciousness too. And we have to learn that from a competent teacher, somebody like Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. See, you have to learn it from somebody who's actually elevated. You know, like Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj or the Acharyas in disciplic succession. They have love for Krishna Therefore, they can teach us how to develop our love for Krishna. Just like, same thing, example, if you want to learn how to play the piano or whatever, you go to somebody who knows, who's expert, and they can teach you. So we have the acharyas, they're expert, they already have love for Krishna, and they can guide us how to do it. That's where we got to take our direction from, not the Western world. The Western world is just wrong about everything. They're wrong about their understanding of life after death. Generally, people think when you're dead, that's the end, or at best, it's either heaven or hell. Wrong. XX. There's evidence, even aside from the fact that it's stated throughout the Vedic literatures, there's evidence. There's children who remember their past lives. There's near-death out-of-body experience. There's empiric evidence that supports this idea that's being presented in the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Vedic literatures, that there's, reincarnation. There's evidence. So they're wrong about life after death, and they're wrong about life before death. Some examples of that are abortion. Way back in 1979, there was some man, I don't know if he was a doctor or not, I think he was a doctor, he made a film called Silent Scream. And it showed the baby in the womb. And it actually, I don't know how they did it, but it showed, while the abortion was happening, the instrument going in there, and the little baby was trying to move away from the instruments and defend itself, and it's like screaming, but you couldn't hear it because the baby's in the womb. So the information's out there. It's been out there that's 45 years ago that video was produced, or that movie was produced. But you think people would kind of get it, but they don't. Just like they don't get about animal slaughter. It's just such an obvious thing to me. To devotees, it's just such an obvious thing. If there's food, if you can maintain your body without unnecessarily torturing and then killing innocent animals, why not do that? Why not live and let live? It's just such a no-brainer. And even for the last 10, I don't know, maybe longer years, probably 15, 20 years even, there's been different organizations. They would go to public events and they would pay people. They'd pay you $1 or $2 to watch a video, a 2-minute video, where you see what goes on in the slaughterhouses and like that. And they did. For a few years, I went with Vans Warped Tour. They were there, and they were doing it there. They pay people to please come watch it here. Here's a couple $, watch this video, and people would watch it, and they don't get it. They just don't get it. They don't get it about abortion. They didn't get it about animal slaughter. They just don't get it. Pollution. There's a garbage patch in the ocean that's the size of the state of Texas. Probably it's the size of the state of Alaska now. How are they going to? Why is it they don't get it? Resolving conflicts. Right now in the world, there's unnecessary wars. If you actually analyze what's going on, unnecessary. Fighting over some land. Is there so much land? What's the problem? We can't. This is the actual problem. Is this? Prayena sabya. Prayena ayusa. How's it go? Sorry, I pulled it up because I always have difficulty trying to quote in this verse. Prayena alpa ayusa sabya. Kalun asmin yugejana. Manda sumanda mateo manda bhagya hipatata. That this is, I believe, Sutta Goswami. It's either Sutta Goswami speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya, or it's Shaunika Rishi addressing Sutta Goswami at this point. And he's saying that, O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men are almost always have short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. And I think you could almost put the unlucky in that above all category as well. People are just unfortunate. Unfortunate. It's the only explanation I could, come up with how that people can not understand that abortion is something you're not supposed to do. Killing animals unnecessarily is not something you're supposed to do. And it's just like, well, how are they so unfortunate? It's reaction to sinful activity. You're being punished. And that's why they can't understand. So actually there's only one person who can straighten out the mess that this world is in now, and unfortunately it's not Donald Trump. with all due respect. It's Krishna. It's Krishna. Because all the problems, if you can trace it back to, it's just reaction to sinful activity. You see? There's so much sinful activity being performed by the human race, the human population over the face of the earth, and has been now for some time. It builds up, and this is how it manifests. It manifests in all these, this is a reaction to sinful activity. The wars, the this, the that, and it's not going to stop as a result of some diplomatic negotiation or something like that. The only solution to the problem, well, let me ask, what's the solution? How do you get free from reaction to sinful activity? It's a tough question, right? How do you get free from reaction to sinful activity? Yeah, thank you. Sarva dhammam parityajya mamekam saranam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasyami masucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and surrender to me. I'll protect you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. See? That's significant. You know, they have to do more than just kind of just start behaving nicely from this point onwards. It's like if a criminal, after he performs a whole bunch of crimes and he says, okay, from this moment on, I won't commit any more crimes. I won't rob anybody anymore. I won't kill anybody anymore. I won't, be a pedophile. Or from this moment on, I'm going to do. But no, you've already done like 100 different crimes. You see? So the human race is behind the 8 ball. It's already done so much sinful activity. The only hope for the human race now is they have to surrender to Krishna. Why I say that? Because Krishna says, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasyami masucha. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Only Krishna can do that. You see? If people surrender, then Krishna can make some adjustment. That's really so we're the only hope. This Krishna consciousness movement is the only hope for the human race. That's my analysis. That's my understanding of this philosophy. That's my analysis. So our duty is this. First, we have to ourselves learn how to surrender to Krishna, and then we have to teach it to other people. Very simple. We have to learn how to surrender to Krishna ourselves, and once we've learned that, we have to get out there and somehow or another figure out a way to, share it to other people. Because that's the only thing that's going to straighten out this mess. Not their diplomatic this and that. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I mean, maybe, some of these politicians maybe. But no, ultimately it's just that. Surrender to Krishna. That will free one from reaction to sinful activity. If it's done, if Krishna is satisfied. And then that's the solution to the problem. So I'll stop there. Does anybody have any question or comment? Yeah. On the microphone. Yeah.
The only solution is to spread Krishna consciousness, and in this way we help people. But we can see we distributed millions of books. But how many devotees came? For example, in this California, how many devotees there are? So I think it's not only distribution, but also sequence should be like taking care of these devotees or cultivating somehow. Because distribute millions of books, but how many devotees became from this?
Yeah, I didn't say that just, I said surrender to Krishna. I didn't say just distributing books. I said we have to learn it ourselves and teach it. There's different ways of teaching. Distributing books is one way. Distributing prasadam is another way. Harinam is another way. Academic preaching is another way. Being really good to the people when they come to the temple is another way. So there's so many different ways of teaching people how to surrender to Krishna. So we have to try to do all of them, and we have to pray for the mercy of our spiritual master and the predecessor acharyas to become empowered to do that, because it's not an easy thing, as you just pointed out. We've distributed so many books where the devotees. It's not an easy thing, but that is our philosophy that there's in the 4th canto, there's a purport where Prabhupada says the pure devotee is always thinking about how to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. And Krishna being pleased with that attitude and the efforts of the pure devotee like that, he says he enlightens the general populace from within by his causeless mercy. So that's how it happens. That's how this Krishna conscious movement exists. Prabhupada was so sincere that Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, was reciprocating with Prabhupada. He had such a sincere desire. He was trying so sincerely and hard like that. And, it's not like the people were qualified. They were just totally unqualified. But Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, okay, my pure devotee's here. He's trying so sincerely to establish the Krishna consciousness movement. So let me inspire the general populace from within. You, get inspired, come forward and, become a devotee. And that's my understanding of how the whole, and actually Prabhupada said something to that effect, in a letter he wrote to Sudama. He said, when I was alone in your New York, I was thinking, who will listen to me in this horrible, sinful place? But at least I can distribute a few of my books. That is something. But then he said, but then Krishna all along was planning something I could not see. See, so Krishna's observing. He's watching how sincerely we're trying to surrender. He said, he sent you young American boys and girls to me one by one for spreading the movement of Lord Chaitanya. He says, now I can see it as a miracle. He says, otherwise, one old man in your city of New York with not even enough money to buy edibles as food, how could he survive? What to speak of starting a God consciousness movement to save the whole human race? He says, it's Krishna's miracle. See, so Prabhupada sort like that too. He didn't see that, well, I'm doing this, and because I did this, that happened. No. He just tried sincerely, and by Krishna's mercy, it happened. It looked like it was impossible. Prabhupada would say like that in different purports in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He started off in a helpless way, and something, I don't know, how do you put it? I can't remember exact words, but he expressed it himself like that. He just felt like, there's no hope here. Hopeless way and a helpless way. But he said, due to the force of the order of the Supreme Authority, this movement has become successful. See, so that's how Prabhupada was feeling, helpless, hopeless, but not giving up. He kept trying sincerely, and Krishna reciprocated, Well, you can always read Krishna book. But Prabhupada didn't give us any, you didn't have to have any previous qualification to read Krishna book. But I just say when the temple gets there, and you, I don't know, ask your spiritual master. Yeah, I mean, before you can really fully assimilate those chapters of the 10th canto, you have to be liberated. Basically, that's meant for liberated souls. But Prabhupada has presented it in the Krishna book, and even in the 10th canto. Those aren't his purports. I would read Krishna book, and when you feel like you want to read the 10th canto directly, ask your spiritual master, and if he says yeah, go ahead, then you're okay. But good idea to really focus on the all the stuff that leads up to that, and make some solid advancement. That's my understanding. Yeah. Just while you're waiting for this, there's a lot of different statements, Prabhupada. I remember when Prabhupada saw this one picture, and in one lecture he was saying, what are all these pictures of Radha and Krishna? Why don't they make a picture of Krishna creating the universe? Because Prabhupada wasn't into that. I know there are other devotees that do sort of promote that or advocate that, but that wasn't Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada, he wasn't against it. He did give us Krishna book, but Prabhupada wasn't into the whole devotees getting into these, the Radha Krishna rasas and leelas and things like that. No, he really wasn't. And when you listen to his lectures carefully, you can understand that he wasn't. Yeah.
So, when Srila Prabhupada came to the West, he had built a lot of institutions or infrastructures to spread Krishna consciousness, BBT, ISKCON.
Yep. Be sincere. Just try to be sincere about the basic stuff. It's out of our control. I mean, there's definitely the Krishna consciousness movement is not what it used to be here in North America in some senses, But like in India, it's phenomenal. I mean, India used to be nothing. Back in the 70s, India was like, there was hardly any Indian devotees, and there was nothing happening there. And then somehow or another, over the years, things shift. Now in America, it's kind of dwindling. It seems like that to a certain extent, and then over in India, it's really going great guns. That can change. That can change. We just have to. We don't know what Krishna's plan is. We just have to, like Prabhupada did. It's not like Prabhupada got this. Don't get discouraged. In other words, Prabhupada didn't get discouraged. Or even if he felt discouraged, he didn't. There's that story about how he used to go to the office of the Scindia Steamship Company. And he asked, when's the next boat going? He went 2 or 3 times, and finally the man said to him, sir, I don't think you're going to go. You keep coming and asking when the next boat is, but I don't think you're going to. So, but Prabhupada, even he felt discouraged with his intelligence. He didn't allow himself to be discouraged, and he persevered, and Krishna reciprocated. So we have to follow in the footsteps of Prabhupada in that regard. Don't get discouraged. Even if you feel a little discouraged, don't act on the platform of being discouraged. Just carry on and depend on Krishna that he will do something like he did in the case of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada's the perfect example in so many different ways. And that's surely one way when you use the perfect example. No breaking point devotee. No breaking point. Prabhupada just was not going to be discouraged. He persevered. He kept going, and we see what happened. He came with nothing, knew nobody really, and then he was able to, start and establish a movement. And here it is, 55, almost 60 years later, it's still going on. And it's not growing maybe exactly the way we hoped it would in every different place, but it's growing. Things are, we're not about to disappear from the map. We're still, a lot of Krishna conscious stuff going on all over the world, and particularly in India. So I'll just conclude the class. I'll just read some. This Prabhupada was asked, he gave a class, and at the end of the class, one man asked him, if God loves us, why are we suffering? So Prabhupada said, suppose the father creates some children. So the purpose is that he wants to enjoy family life. This is the purpose of creation. But the father wants that each and every of his children become nicely educated, obedient. But if the child is not is not properly taking the instruction of the father and spoils himself, and he is in suffering, so is that the fault of the father or the child? Whose fault is it? So the guest says, and Prabhupada goes, Prabhupada continues, father gave, directs everything, but if the child does not want to follow the father's instruction and he suffers, then whose fault it is? The child's fault or the father's fault? And the guest goes, of course, it's the child's fault. Prabhupada says, that's it. So you are a child of God, you do not follow the instruction of God, therefore you are suffering. Guest, but being a child, your divine grace, you may not know everything being a child. Prabhupada says, but still, he may not know everything, but when he's grown up, he must know everything. Just like all these living entities. There are 8,400,000 species of living entities. They are all children of God. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarva yoneshu kuntaya sambhavanti murtayaya tasman mahad yonir brahma aham bija pradapata. Quote, he says, I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. So there are 8,400,000 species of living entities, and there are 2 million species of living entities within the water. He gives the Sanskrit. In this way, the living entities are growing consciousness. Actually, when he comes to the human form of body, then he is in full consciousness. At that time, he should know why he is suffering. See, so a human being should know why he is suffering, according to Prabhupada. He doesn't accept this idea that, child, he doesn't know. human being has enough consciousness that he should know, Prabhupada said. What is the cause? So similarly, when he finds that he is suffering on account of his being disobedient to the Father, he rectifies himself, he becomes happy. So first of all, try to understand why you are suffering, and in the human form of life, you can rectify why you are suffering. Notice Prabhupada doesn't let the living entity off the hook. Have some responsibility. You've got to take some responsibility. And in Krishna, and this philosophy, we each have to take some responsibility for our own situation. So it says, and then you become happy. God has not made you unhappy. You became disobedient. You wanted to enjoy life in a certain way. God has given you the chance. All right, you do it. But you are not happy. God does not want you to God does not want you to be unhappy. Therefore he comes. He instructs you again and again. But you do not hear. You neglect the instruction of God. Therefore you are suffering. You come to your consciousness. Therefore you are suffering. So come to your consciousness. Become obedient to God. You will be happy. That is our propaganda, Krishna consciousness. And he says, this man, he says, I should now request you, your divine grace. If God wills everything, and Prabhupada interrupts him and says, yes, means without his will you cannot do anything, but first will is yours. You wanted to become like that. God has given you a body like that to enjoy, but you are not happy. So, but the first will is yours. We have responsibility. That's this is our philosophy, that we have free will. It's due to misuse of our free will that we're here in the material world. It's due to further misuse of our free will that we become entangled and wind up with messes like what we're seeing all over the planet right now. So we have to properly make the decision. We have to take responsibility for our own situation, the own mess we're in. And individually, to start off with, we have to surrender to Krishna. And then when we do that, we'll see that that'll solve a lot of the problems in our life. And then we have to, as I said in the class, teach others. That's two things we have to do. We have to ourselves, personally, individually surrender to Krishna, and then teach other people how to do it. That's it. Make sense? Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Ki Jai.